So coming to settle the body into the mat on your back, and yeah, making those little shuffly movements that you need to make so that the whole of the skin of the back of the body just starts to drop into the floor. I'll just feel a kind of a melting away of tension as you release your body to the floor. And just checking in with how you're feeling today, in this moment, this evening. What's your energy like in the hot weather, if you're experiencing hot weather? And given the day you've had, have you been on your feet, rushing around all day, or have you been very sedentary? Just kind of checking in with what you need this evening so that you can factor this in as you practice. And that's one of the real benefits of home, of you're all practicing in your own home. So you can be a bit more kind of follow the class, of course, but also just really be in your own practice, your own truth, listening to your body, modifying when you need. And then we're just going to just start to lengthen the breath. So start to deepen the breath, breathing in and out through the nose. And just notice, is one nostril more open than the other? Can you discern that? It doesn't matter if you can or you can't, but just really tuning into the entrance of the nostrils, where the air is entering the nose, the nasal passage. And just seeing if you can just be acutely aware and subtly discern if one nostril is a bit more dominant than the other at the moment. Or maybe not, maybe it feels really even, left and right. But then we're just going to do some left nostril breathing, left being in yoga the yin side, the more feminine side, the side of more softness, yielding, surrender, being, not doing, and that's the energy I'm certainly feeling today. So I thought it was the energy that we could try and bring into the practice a little bit. So just take your first finger or thumb, whatever feels comfortable, and just press the right nostril. And then just continue to do slow, deep breaths, just in and out through the left nostril. Keep the right shoulder as relaxed as it can be here. And really feel like you're filling up the left side of your body with prana, this yin side, this Ida, Chandra, moon side of your body, feminine. Really expanding it, filling it with prana as you breathe in, and spreading that yin energy through the body as you breathe out. Great. And when you come to the end of your next exhale, just release the right arm and hand down again and just breathe again through both nostrils. And you may or may not detect a shift. We don't need to read too much into any of it, but just to be aware. Just to be acutely aware of your nostrils. And then when you're ready, take the arms overhead and stretch the legs out if they're not already stretched out. And interlace your hands above the head. So stretch the palms back away from you. So your little fingers are kind of towards the floor. And push out through the heels and push down through the lower part of the back, engaging the front of the thighs and the deep core muscles. And then on your next exhale, bringing the right knee in and the hands forward and just hug the right knee into the chest. And just circle the foot, the ankle in a clockwise direction. And then on your next inhale, just ease off the stretch a little bit. So take the knee away from you. And exhale, bring the knee towards the armpit. So in again, but just a little bit offset further out to the side. And circle the ankle in an anti-clockwise direction. Great. And then from here, bring the knee back to the center and extend the leg up towards the ceiling. You can interlace your hands around the back of the thigh, the back of the calf. If you're more open, you could hold the foot, but we're just warming up, so don't overstretch, but just start to elongate, activate the back of the right leg, toes to the shin. And if the left leg's on the floor, pressing out through left heel, or bend the left leg, foot on the floor to protect the lower back. Great. And then either hold the outside of the right leg, or if you've got the foot, the little toe edge of the right foot, and just let the leg come out to the side. So if you're holding the outside of the thigh, for example, just let your right elbow be on the floor to support you, and push out through the heel, pushing it out and away through the left leg as well. You could also use a strap if you had a strap. Try and keep the left buttock on the floor. And you can look over your left shoulder or just look up to the ceiling. And then with your core awareness, inhale the leg back to the center, and just take the left hand to the outside of the right leg, or again, if you're more open, the foot, and hook your right thumb into the right hip crease. So we take the leg towards the center line, towards the center of the body, or maybe even slightly across the center to the left, but we keep the right buttock glued to the floor. So this right hand is anchoring down the right side of the pelvis. You could explore, if you're not feeling anything up the outer edge of the right leg, you could explore bringing the foot a little bit closer to the face. And then we're going to take it all the way over, so you can roll with it now. So just roll passively with the left leg as you bring your right foot all the way over to the left. You may still have the foot bind, or you may just be holding the outside of the leg. And when the leg touches down, if it touches down, you can just either keep the bind of the foot or release the hand. And look over your right shoulder. Trying to keep as much of the upper back onto the floor as possible here, depending on the tightness in your shoulder. Melt the right side of the back down to the mat with each exhale. And final option for those that want to, you could bend the left foot up towards the buttocks and reach the right hand down and see if you could find the top of the left foot with the right hand, the cat's tail. And then we try and again encourage the right side of the back to melt back towards the floor, the upper right back, with the exhales. Okay, so you could have two binds here, foot to hand, or no binds, or one. And then just releasing that stretch, release the binds. If you've got the binds, roll back to the center. Just take the feet down to centrally align again. We're going to stay on this side. We're doing a lot on one side and then changing. We're going to come to thread the needle. So take your outer right ankle onto the front of the left thigh. If it's okay, on your right knee, pick up the left foot. And then right hand comes through that little gap underneath the right calf, left hand around the outside. Hold the front of the left shin or the back of the left knee. Keep the right foot actively flexed. See if you can press the sacrum down into the mat, the lowest part of the spine, just above the buttocks. And breathe deep into that right outer hip. So just kind of really feel this shape in your body, because we're going to just play around with this shape as a bit of a motif for today's class. We're going to revisit this shape in the body in various different positions. Breathing deep, releasing breaths. We're doing a kind of more yin energy releasing practice today. Great. And then releasing that stretch, just let the left foot come down. We'll again centrally align the body, and we'll just come back into that interlacing the hands over the head, full body stretch. So maybe put the other little finger on the outside this time as you take the arms overhead. Press the palms away, push out through the heels, press the lower ribs and the lower back down into the mat. So it's a strong posture here. Big inhale, and then as you exhale, bring the left knee forward, bring the hands forward and hug the front of the left shin or the back of the knee into the mat, pushing out through the right heel. And circle the foot in a anti-clockwise direction. Squeezing that left thigh into the left side of the torso, the belly. And then on your next inhale, just ease off the stretch, take the knee away from you a little bit, straighten the arms. And exhale, draw it in again, but this time a little bit further out to the left, so just away from the torso, slightly more towards the armpits, and circle the ankle in a clockwise direction. Still aware of the right leg on the floor, pushing out through the heel. And then bring that knee back so it's above the hip and stretch the leg up towards the ceiling. And again, you can interlace the hands around the back of the thigh, calf, maybe hold the foot, or if you do have a strap nearby and you'd rather work with the strap, that's also an option. But keep left foot flexed, toes to the shin, keep right foot flexed if it's extended out on the floor, or maybe you could bend that right leg. Energize the back of the leg, back of the left leg, elongate, push up and out, express up and out through that left heel. Okay, and then take your left hand to the outside of the left leg or possibly little toe of the foot. Right hand can anchor down the right hip to keep the right buttock on the floor. We're taking the left leg out to the left. So you could just again have your elbow on the floor as a prop and you're just supporting wherever your leg gets to in your hand. You could look over your right shoulder if you did that on the other side, or just look up to the ceiling. And we're still expressing out and away through both heels here. Okay, now connect to your pelvic floor, connect to your deep core as you inhale the leg back to the center. And again, this time take the right hand to the outside of the left leg, maybe little toe edge, and hook your right thumb into the left thumb into the left hip crease. And anchor that left side of the pelvis down to the floor as you just start to move the left foot towards the center line. So it might just be literally the center of your body, the center of your chest, or it might come over towards the right side of your chest. But we try and keep active. I find this really intense, and my tendency is to start to bend the leg. But if I can really keep expressing and active, I really feel the intensity of the stretch in a manageable way. It's just intense. So see if you can find that sweet spot where it could be very intense because this bit of the leg gets very tight, but we can still breathe and relax. Okay, coming more into that passive all the way over now. So roll onto the outside edge of your right leg as you bring that left leg all the way over to the right. So you may, if you've got the foot, you may bring that foot down with the hand still holding the foot, or just release the hand. And you could also bend the left leg if that's better for you. You could look over your left shoulder, try and melt the left upper back to the floor, and maybe take cat's tail, bending the right foot up towards the buttocks, reaching down with the left hand, seeing if you can find the top of the right foot. And then again, if you've got cat's tail bind, really trying to melt the left upper back to the floor with each exhale. And that can take a few breaths to feel that release. Still active in the left leg, pushing out through that left heel. One more deep breath here. Okay, release the right foot, release the left foot, find your core, come back to the center. And then coming into thread the needle on this side. So flexing that left foot, placing the outer ankle onto the front of the right thigh. Left hand through the gap, right hand around the outside. Just let the right foot relax and flop, but keep the left foot very actively flexed and draw this right knee in towards the body, listening to the left knee. Again, just kind of really tuning into how this shape feels in your body. Hopefully feeling a stretch somewhere around the left hip, could be inner thigh, inner hip, could be outer hip, could be lower back. It's going to depend where your biggest restrictions are. And breathe into where you feel the stretch. So we are going to revisit this shape. And at the end of your next exhale, release. We'll just do one more stretch on our backs here. We'll do the side stretch. So from central alignment in the front of the mat, take the left foot off the left edge of the mat and either cross the right ankle on top of the left ankle or just flex the feet and kind of press the right foot into the left foot and then shuffle the shoulders across. And you can take the arms overhead. You could hold the opposite elbow. You could just reach the hands back. You could interlace and press the palms out again. It doesn't really matter, but as long as the arms are extending overhead in some way, I like to hold opposite elbow personally. And then we try and make sure the sacrum and both buttocks are on the floor and that both sides of the upper back are on the floor. So if your right buttock is lifting or your right side of the back is lifting, you've probably gone too far, just come a little bit less intense in the stretch. And really breathe into the right side of the body. You should feel a lovely kind of opening from the fingertips to the toes down the right side of the body. Great, and then stepping the right foot back to the center, left foot joined, shuffle the torso to the center, and then go to the other side. So right foot comes off the right edge of the mat, left ankle crosses on top, or I personally just like to flex the feet and press the left foot into the top of the right foot, and then shuffle your torso over. If you're holding the opposite elbows, maybe swap the bind, so you have the other elbow on top. Check again that as much of the back of the body is connected to the floor as possible, the sacrum, left side of the upper back, left buttock. Deep breaths into the left side of the body. Feel that as a lovely opening, energetic, muscular. And then at the end of the next exhale, release, bring the legs back to the center one at a time, shuffle the torso, and just cross the ankles and hug both knees into the chest. And we'll rock up and down. So you can skip this if it doesn't work for you, but if it feels okay, lift the feet up, and then the momentum of bringing the action of bringing them down to the buttocks creates the momentum, and we keep the chin tucked in and just rock back and forwards a few times. Until next time you rock up to a seated position. Great. And we're going to find the deer posture here. So in the deer posture, the legs are maybe like 45 degrees, maybe a bit more, and the feet are flexed, and the sole of your left foot is going to be touching the front of your right thigh. Okay, so I've got my left shin is parallel to the front of the mat, my foot's flexed, and the angle of the legs is kind of the same. Yeah, so what you'll notice is this kind of natural slumping over to the left. This is very normal, and there's probably a bit of a pinching feeling around that right hip. It can sometimes turn into cramp, so if it does come out as you need, you might need to slide a cushion or something under that right buttock. But if you can avoid it, what we're looking to do is just by finding our deep core, so connect to your pelvic floor and your deep abdominal muscles, you put your fingertips on the floor, and we want to try, we're anchoring down this left knee and ankle, but we want to try and over time, over a few breaths, just bring the torso to the center line so it's not contracted in the right and overstretched in the left. We want to try and as much as possible get even sides in the torso here, get our weight to the center. So this posture just benefits from having a bit of time spent here, because with a few more exhales you can perhaps start to release some of the held tension around this right buttock, right hip rather. We feel a kind of rebalancing of left and right side. And then we're going to just take a little twist. So take your right hand onto your left knee, left hand behind you, look towards or beyond your left shoulder. Still trying to drop down through the right hip, right buttock. Still trying to keep the spine in as central axis as possible, still connected to your deep core. Best you can, dropping down through both sit bones, lifting in the pelvic floor. Inhale back to the center. And just take your hands forward. So we're not actually in the center, I'm facing my left knee. And I'm just going to walk my hands forward, kind of beyond my left knee, and let my body weight come down onto the left knee and my forehead onto the backs of the hands. So it's kind of like we're in a really lazy version of the pigeon. But still, there's a subtle, the weight of the body pressing on that left leg does create a slight opening. Similar to pigeon, but much, much less intense. Your right buttock will have come off the floor, that's absolutely fine. And you can stay here, or you can continue to stay low and just continue to walk the hands further over to the left, bringing the right hand on top of the left hand. So again, you drop the head, but you should maybe feel a little bit more of a stretch down the right side of the body now. So my head's not in line, tracking with my left knee. I've moved further over to the left, so I'm kind of in a bit of a lateral stretch and a slight spinal twist. I have called this, I've heard this posture called slumpasana, which I really like. Like we're just kind of slumped a bit here. So yeah, the right buttock's going to be off the floor, and that's fine. Okay, so to come out of this, walk the hands back in. So stay over to the left, walk the hands back in until the spine is upright, and then untwist the spine back to the center. Okay, and we'll swap sides. So you might just want to take the hands behind you, and let's see what the other hip's like. So just kind of swing the legs the other way. So now my right shin is more or less parallel to the front of the mat. And then I just bring that left thigh in, so the sole of my right foot's kind of pretty much touching the front of my left thigh. And as I look down, the angle of the legs are more or less the same. Yeah. And again, as we first go into it, you know, I always feel it. There's this leaning over to the right. There's a contraction in the left side, stretching to the right, and we want to even that up. So it helps when I put the fingertips on the floor, but it helps most of all by connecting to my mula bandha, the seat of mula bandha, that lifting up on the perineum, so I can feel grounded in the center of my body. And those deep postural muscles. So it's almost like you can kind of use your deep postural muscles to bring you back to the center, whilst keeping this right outer knee anchored down. So just as best you can. It's an asymmetrical pose. We're not going to feel totally even, because there is just more contraction on the left side by the nature of the posture. But as best we can, we feel a sense of lifting and evenness in the side bodies. Taking a couple more breaths to just release around this left hip, left buttock. And then we'll take our twist. So take the left hand onto the right leg, right hand behind you, and spiral the spine looking towards or beyond the right shoulder. Try not to kind of lean over to the right as you do this. Try to keep both buttocks on the floor, both sit bones at the base of the pelvis down. That sense of the spine lifting up in its central axis. And it is challenging in this posture. Keep the navel drawing back to the spine so we don't puff out in the lower ribs. And at the end of your next exhale, turn not quite back to the center, but just so you're facing that right knee, tracking the torso along the same line as the right thigh, and just walk the hands straight out beyond the right knee until the weight of the body comes down, a bit like pigeon. Then you can just rest the forehead on the backs of the hands. And actually, for those that pigeon is really intense, this can be another variation, actually, just to make it a little bit easier. But hopefully you're still feeling some kind of stretch around the outer right hip, lower back, just from the compression of the body, upper body onto the leg. Breathe deep, relax the shoulders and the face. And then you can stay here for just the last few breaths, or again, just lifting up a little bit, walking the hands even further over towards the right. So you might even be coming kind of behind you, depending how open you are. And just see if you can bring the left hand to come on top of the right hand so that we really get this stretch along the left side of the body. And just drop the head. So it is a slumping posture. We're kind of slumped over to the right, and that's fine. And then again, to come out of this, walk the hands back in towards you from wherever you got to with that until the spine is upright, and then untwist the spine back to the center. Great. And then just with care, we're going to come onto our hands and knees. So just find your way out of that shape. Come onto the hands and knees. We'll just take a brief Anahatasana and then come into downward dog. So keep the hips above the knees. Walk the hands forward, drop the chin or the forehead to the floor, and just soften in the upper back here, broadening across the shoulder blades, melting the upper chest down into the mat. Breathing deep. One more deep breath. And then just press through the hands to lift the elbows off the floor. Walk the hands back in so they're just up into the shoulders. Tuck the toes. Find it your way to downward dog. So if you want to move into this first downward dog, do so. Walking out the feet, moving the hips, or just working with dynamic stillness, just focusing on the breath. Just ease your way in, however feels right for you. Have a sense of Mula Bandha in your downward dog. So just put your awareness right at the base of your spine, the tip of the tailbone, the perineum, umbrella muscle between the genitals and the anus, that stretchy band of muscle, just lifting it a little bit. And it's a very subtle activation. We want to feel when we activate Mula Bandha, when we do it correctly, it should actually make us feel grounded. So it's not lifting us up away from the floor. We're just connecting to our root, which actually helps us stay grounded. So stay with awareness in your feet and hands as well, as you just practice just subtly, not too much effort, activating the perineum or the pelvic floor a little bit. And when you do that, you'll probably naturally activate Uddiyana Bandha 2, the flying up lock, which is our deep postural muscles again, those deep transverse abdominals. So these two kind of work together. You feel a hollowing out feeling in the lower belly. And then just come high onto the toes. Try and keep that Mula Bandha awareness as you roll the body forward into plank until the shoulders are above the wrists. If plank feels too much for you this evening, just bring the knees down and do half plank. Otherwise, just taking 3 or so full breaths here, lifting the navel up to the spine, heels drawing backwards, top of the head, drawing forwards, legs strong, tailbone elongated. Breathing in deep, and then bringing the knees down. Exhale, taking the chin and the chest down, keeping the hips high. And then slide the legs out, and inhale, come up into a very shallow cobra. So just have the hands underneath the shoulders and draw the shoulders back, just looking beyond the tip of the nose to the floor. Just take a couple of breaths here. So we're using our back muscles to lift the back off the floor. And exhale, lower. Lower the forehead. Coming up again, making sure you use the back, not the hands. So even hover the hands off the floor if you need to, but just try not to press down through the hands as you use the back muscles to lift the chest. Just same again, couple of breaths. And then exhale, lower. And then tucking the toes under, pressing back through tabletop, back into downward dog. Taking a breath or so in downward dog. And we're going to revisit that shape that we just did, this kind of pigeon variation. So just you could come high onto the toes and bend the left leg, or bend both knees, and see if you can pick up the right foot like we did in Thread the Needle and place the outer right ankle on the front of the left thigh, but the left knee remains very bent. So we're kind of trying to push the chest towards the right shin. Check that this is okay in your right knee. If there's any complaints in the right knee, just skip this. Bending that left knee deep, pressing back, pressing with the hands to take the chest towards the shin, feeling that stretch in the outer right hip. And then from here, just bringing the right foot forward between the hands and just taking a low lunge position, keeping that back knee off the floor. You can be up on the fingertips, lifting that left knee off the floor and just gliding the hips forward and backwards a few times here. So you use your back foot to kind of come right onto the toes and then press back, press the heel back. So just like a stick insect for a moment, gliding forward. Okay, and then take the left hand down under the shoulder, reach the right hand up, look up to that right hand, feeling very grounded in the feet, scissoring the legs towards each other, the thighs squeezing towards each other. And then exhale that right hand down behind the little toe edge, spin the back foot and see if you can come into Parsvakonasana from here. So some of you might need to bring the right elbow onto the thigh, but otherwise just for this variation have it behind the little toe. And we look up to that top hand, pressing back through the back foot. And then exhale, release the left hand down, step the right foot back, and you choose. I've got no energy this evening, so I would probably choose child's pose or downward dog. But if you do want to do a vinyasa between sides, this is the moment to take it with your breath. Okay. And then we'll meet back in downward dog for the other side. So when you're ready, we're going to, it's a bit awkward to get into it, but see if you can get the outer left ankle onto the front of the right thigh with the foot flexed and bend that right knee deep. So that we're again pressing through the hands to send the chest back towards this left shin. So we're kind of in a pigeon shape by outer hip opener. If it doesn't work for you, skip it. And then looking forward, see if you could just transition from here to bring the left foot between the hands in a strong low lunge. So again, gliding the hips back and forth, forwards and backwards, which also an added benefit of this is that it really stretches the toe joints, the fascia of the feet. And then coming to settle, taking the right hand under the right shoulder and stretch the left hand up. Draw your navel away from that left thigh, back to the spine. Press down through the left heel, press back through the right heel so the legs are strong. And then exhale, bring that left hand down, spin the back foot so the sole of the right foot's on the floor. And then we drop the hips and take the right arm up and over for Parsvakonasana. And again, if it's your truth to actually have the left elbow on the thigh, then swap to that at this point. Looking up to that right hand, breathing deep. Feel the connection between little toe edge of right foot and right fingertip, stretching in opposite directions. And then exhale, bringing the hands down. And again, your choice, child's pose, downward dog, or possibly plank. Exhaling to chaturanga. Inhaling to your back bend and exhaling downward dog. So just feel what your energy is like this evening. Take a breath in downward dog or child's pose. We're going to meet in a standing forward fold. So at the end of your next exhale, look forward, walk, step, jump if you've got energy. Take the feet to the hands and hip distance apart. And take Padangustasana. So take the first two fingers and the thumb around the big toe. Inhale, look up and lengthen, and exhale, fold, elbows go wide. Just playing with the weight distribution in the feet, rocking back and forward. See if you can really feel that pressing down of the big toe into the fingers, but without losing the contact with the heels. So feet very active. Bending the knees as much as you need to. And then bring the hands to the hips, bending in the knees, press through the feet to come up with a flat back. And we'll come to a balance. That again is going to revisit this shape. So we'll do the number 4 balance. So starting on the left leg, drawing the left hip in, spreading the toes. Once again, we come to that shape. So it's the outer right ankle on the front of the left thigh. When we're standing up, it's much more active in the front of this right hip. Like you can usually actually feel this big kind of tendon or ligament, whatever it is, that big chunky part of the body working active here. And just bring the hands to the center of the chest. So we're just going to work here for a minute. See if you can keep that left hip sucking in, keep actively pressing the right ankle into the thigh. So you could stay here, which is, as I say, excellent activation of the front of the right hip. But if we want to start to feel that outer hip stretch again, we hinge at the hips and we start to take the bum behind us, the tailbone behind us as we hinge and take the torso forwards. So if you're quite open, you might get to the point where you can rest your forearms on your shin, your right shin. Otherwise, just go as far as is right for you. You might also be able to get the fingertips to the floor. So just hinge as far as is your limit. Take 3 to 5 breaths, keeping that right foot actively flexed. And stay upright if it's too much for the knee to fold. Okay, if you're folded, we're going to come up in increments again. So bend that left knee deep. Try and come up with a flat back. So try and unhinge the body as the same way you hinged. Take a moment to just re-establish the standing position, pushing that right foot in actively so you feel this very interesting activation of the right hip, and then release. Okay, and always with these postures, this shape, really listen to the knee, because when the hips tight, that tightness travels to the knee, and we certainly don't want to damage the knee joint. So, you know, that's your guide. If it starts to really complain, back off, skip the posture, whatever you need to do. Okay. Your knees talk loud and clear. Keep the right hip drawing in, firm the thigh, spread the toes, lift up the left foot, flex the foot. You might need to just kind of use the hands to help you find the right position. It's a little bit awkward. That's why we have to use a lot of effort in that left hip to keep the left foot pressing into the thigh just above the knee. So my toes are pointing downwards just above the knee, hands to the center of the chest. So there's a real activation here. You're really pressing that left foot back. Keep the right hip drawing in. Stay here, strong work, or again, start to take the hips out behind you, or the bum out behind you as you hinge the body forward. So it's like you're folding yourself in half, you're closing in, potentially maybe bringing the forearms to rest on that left shin, maybe even bringing the fingertips to the floor. You could, if the fingertips are comfortably on the floor, you could wriggle that left foot further out to the right and see if you can hook the left toe to the outside of the right upper arm and just play with that feeling of actively pressing the left toenails into the upper right arm by firmly flexing that left foot, because this is building up towards a arm balance, which we're not going to do today. Too high energy. If you're folded over, coming out the way you went in, so lifting the fingertips off the floor, really strongly bending the right leg so you can come up with a flat back. Again, taking that moment to re-establish the activation of the vertical position, and then exhale, release. So strong work for the hips. So it gives you a big activation, and if you fold forward, then into the stretch as well. So just take a moment. Great. And then just step the feet wide, we'll come into inversion and we'll take it with a twist. Okay, so if you know you need a block to bring the floor closer for the twist, then have it ready in front of you. But otherwise, just have the hands on the hips, roll the shoulders back, inhale, open the chest and look up, feet are parallel, toes point forward, exhale, forward fold. And just take a few breaths with the just normal prasarita, so just drop the hands to the floor. Take a few breaths here. Maybe if you're more open, take the hands through the legs. You'll hold the back of the heels. So just a version of prasarita, drawing up on the kneecaps, firming the thighs, lifting the inner arches. And then we're going to take it into a twist. So have your left hand directly underneath the face with the arm straight. And then take your right hand onto your lower back, start to draw the right shoulder back, look up to the ceiling, try not to drop the left hip completely, and then raise the right hand up to the ceiling if it feels okay. So eventually in this posture, we want right shoulder to be stacked directly above left shoulder, but that's going to happen in its own time. The best thing we can do is press actively through the left hand. That's why a block can be handy, because you want to be pressing the whole of the palm down into the floor or the block. And as you press down, you feel that rebound of energy travel up through your left arm, across the shoulder blades, and up the right arm, out the right fingertips. So we root down to grow up, to raise that right hand. We go down to go up. Great. And then exhale, release the right hand to swap. So take the right hand directly underneath the face, left hand onto the lower back, draw the left shoulder back first. Try not to let the right hip completely collapse. And then take the left hand up. And then once again, feel that connection between right hand and left fingertips. Root down through the right palm to extend up through the left fingertips. So we create space between the shoulder blades. Don't forget the legs, strong legs, drawing up on the kneecaps. And then exhale, release the left hand down. And then keeping the feet where they are, just start to bend the left leg. So we're keeping both feet pointing forward, and we're just bending that left leg until we feel that stretch up the right thigh. And we'll just do that both sides a couple of times. So inhale to the center and exhale, bend the right knee. So sometimes called skater's pose. Taking a breath or so. And come back to the center as you inhale, and this time come back to the left and either just repeat what we did, keeping the toes pointing forward, or Skandasana. So come onto the heel of the right foot. You might need to slide it out a bit wider, and we drop deeper into this left hip. And the left hip might be raised. We might need to keep the fingertips on the floor, or if we can balance, we bring the hands to the center of the chest, and your left upper arm is kind of pressing that left knee wider open. Okay, Skandasana. So you can stay here, or final invitation is to twist it. So we take the left hand, so it's still on the inside of the left leg, beyond the left foot, and reach and extend up through the right side, looking up through the right fingertips. This is optional. You could even, if you wish, take a bind. Okay, also optional. So just go as far as you want with this. One more breath. And then if the hand's raised or you've got the bind, release and just press down into the floor, and you stay low and you just kind of rock over to the other side. So again, you could just be doing the skater's pose again, toes pointing forward, and just stay for as many breaths as you can. Or come onto that left heel, drop all the way down into Skandasana. Keep fingertips on the floor for support, or hands to the center of the chest. Right upper arm opens that right knee wide, pressing out through that left heel. And then maybe for the last few breaths, this twist. So keeping the right upper arm inside the right leg, take the right hand out beyond the right foot and reach the left hand up and look up to that left hand. Optional bind. One more breath. And then release, bring the hands down. Again, there's like that rocking action to bring you back to the center. Turn the toes in parallel. Bring the hands to the hips. Just take a breath with the floor, torso parallel to the floor. And then you might need to put a bend in the knees. Inhale, come up with a flat back. And exhale, step the feet together. Great. Now we're going to come down to the floor. I'm just going to turn the light on. It's getting quite dark. Great. Okay, so let's come down to the floor. We haven't really flowed much, so if you want to do one more flow down to the floor, then we can. Otherwise, just sit down and we'll meet you there. So coming to the front of the mat in Tadasana, just a nice, gentle yin-style flow, keeping it easy. Inhaling, raising the hands. Exhaling, hinging, taking the hands down, dropping the head. Inhale, look up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, step back to downward dog. And then we'll skip the upward dog thing. We'll just come to sit down from here. So walking the feet forward, sit down behind the hands. And we'll start with a forward fold, and then we're going to revisit that shape again. So start with a simple Paschimottanasana. Just change the angle. So extend the legs out in front of you. Find Dandasana first, just to set it up. So firming up the thighs, pressing through the heels. And again, just connect to Mula Bandha here and Uddiyana Bandha. So fingertips either side of the hips. Just see if you can feel that sense of, it's so subtle. If we squeeze everything, then we lift up and we unground. But if we keep the sense of groundedness down through the pelvis and the legs, but with that real rooting, grounding energy, we feel that it's more of an activation than a strong lift of the pelvic floor, or more subtly of the pelvic floor. Or those who did my Bandha course or know more about it, it's actually the cervix for women. It's an activation of the muscles of the cervix. So it's very subtle and very internal for Mula Bandha. So just feeling that internal subtle activation as we root down through the pelvis and the legs. See if you can keep that as we inhale, raise the hands, reaching up through the fingertips without losing that groundedness, and then exhale forward into Paschimottanasana, forward fold. So just take the hands to the thighs, the shins, the feet, drop the head, and just take 5 to 10 good quality, flowing, smooth, slow, deep breaths here. Just really kind of be fully present with your breath. Let that be your focus. Thinking of just the best quality breaths. And that's in terms of length, but also smoothness, evenness, steadiness, and of course consciousness, presence, awareness. Let's maybe one more really full breath here, deep inhale, deep exhale. And then slowly coming up. I'm going to find that shape again. So this time we're going to do it seated. So you can flex the right foot and just take the outer right ankle on the front of the left thigh again, with the toes pointing down. Should be getting familiar now. And then we can just bend that left leg with your hands behind you. So we start quite open. So my hands are quite far behind me, my left foot's quite far forward, and this might be enough. You might already get a really good stretch here. Obviously, we're tuning into this right knee, but if it feels okay, then maybe we start to bring the hands closer in and the torso more upright. Maybe we also start to bring the left foot in. So if you're more open, you might have to actually come to a really kind of closed position to feel the stretch, or you might need to be out here. So the beauty of doing it seated like this is that we really get to find the right place for us, where this right knee is not complaining, but we feel there's a stretch. So find your place. If you are open, you might even be trying to kind of find contact with the chest and the shin, like we did in the folded forward version. Okay, so find your version, take some slow deep breaths. And then I'm going to offer you an option for those that want to really listen to your knee. We can take this into a twist. So if you're really squidged in, you probably need to just take that left foot forward a little bit. And then just see, this might or might not be for you. The left hand stays behind you and we cross the right hand across the body. So again, the right foot is above the right elbow. And you can bend at the elbow and you kind of press the upper arm into the right foot as your pivot point to develop the twist, and look over your left shoulder. So this may or may not be for you. If it's not working, you could still get a twist by just releasing the right foot to the floor behind the left ankle and bringing your right elbow to the outside of the left knee instead of the right foot. Okay, so we can all do a twist here. Couple more breaths. And then at the end of the next exhale, unravel, come back to the center, and we'll swap sides. So just, you might need to just give that right kneecap a little bit of a massage. And then flexing the left foot, take the outer ankle on the front of the right thigh. And as always, in all of these variations, we keep the foot very actively flexed and the toes pointing down towards the knee, the opposite knee. And then bend that right leg. So this side of the body might be completely different. So again, just tune in to that left knee, that left hip, and then find your version of the posture. So we've got two things to play with: how much we bring the hands in and bring the spine to upright, and how much we bring the right foot in. We might actually have to slide the buttocks forward at some point. So we could be very upright, or we could be very kind of open. And there's no right or wrong, except for what feels right for us in this moment. It's going to change every day. And remember especially that the quality of energy we're bringing in a bit more this evening is more yin energy. It's not about doing, it's not about attainment or goal. So you don't need to be at the deepest expression of the posture you've ever been in. It's more about softening, slowing down, being. Breathe deep. And then again, you can stay here, or you could drop the left foot, take the right foot forward, drop the left foot behind the right heel. But if you want to keep the same leg position, just do so. But either way, we bring this right hand's behind you as your support, left hand comes across the body, and you either kind of press the upper left arm into the sole of the left foot, and that's your pivot point to develop the twist, or left foot's on the floor and we do the same, but the left elbows to the outside of the right knee. Okay. Normal breath. And at the end of the exhale, unravel, come to the front, release the foot, and down. And we're going to take pigeon. So when you're ready, just kind of come over onto your hands and knees and take another little downward dog, or you could just come into pigeon from hands and knees, but otherwise downward dog, just for a moment, just another inversion, connecting to Mula Bandha in downward dog. Always interesting connecting to Mula Bandha, this grounding influence when we're in an inversion. Downward dog is an inversion. Okay, and then inhale, raise the right leg up. And as you exhale, bring the right knee behind the right wrist, shin across the body, slide that left leg out and come into pigeon. And just notice pigeon might feel a little bit more accessible and open today than usual because of the preparation. So you might want to experiment taking this left foot a little bit further forward than usual. If you always have it right back here by the opposite hip, maybe just see, can it go a little bit further forward? Keep it flexed. Eventually it might be parallel with the front of the mat. And then again, we're going to use the weight of the body to deepen the stretch. Listen to your right knee. You know all the alternatives. So with pigeon, this is the most intense version probably of this. So if this is too much for your right knee, take any of the other versions, slumpasana, the seated or lying on your back, thread the needle. I probably wouldn't do the standing balance at this point, but any of the others. So just feel into how pigeon feels today, given the previous preparation. Breathe into any resistance that's in the body around that right hip, right lower back, inner right thigh, wherever the resistance is for you. Just breathe into that, soften the face, soften the shoulders, soften the belly. Anchoring down lightly through the top of the left foot. And then again, an invitation, you could stay here, but it's a bit like the twist we just did. We can have a go at a twist by walking the right elbow across. I mean, if the sole of your right foot is exposed like mine is, you can do the same. You can brace the upper right arm against the sole of the foot. but that might not, you might not make that connection. It depends where your right foot is, but we have the right elbow kind of more or less in line with the left hip, and we press the left hand into the right hand. So we, a bit like when we were in that twist in Prasarita, and we want to stack the shoulders. Here we want to kind of stack the elbows eventually. So we kind of create this solid vertical line with the forearms, and try and keep that left hip rolling down as you press down through that right elbow and look up over the left shoulder. If this doesn't work for you, if it's too much, just skip this and take a gentler twist, maybe just with that right forearm on the floor. Quite strong, one more breath. And we add the twist to the pigeon shape, it gets very interesting. Okay, unravel, come back to the center, and then tuck the back toe under, press back, and take either just from tabletop, extending the right leg back, or take a downward dog. Okay, so just do either of those options just to open the back of the right knee. And then if you're not already in downward dog, perhaps come to downward dog, or you could do it from tabletop. But we're going to, from downward dog, inhale the left leg up, and then exhale, bring that left knee behind the left wrist, flexing the right foot. So try and keep that same discipline that we've been doing, flexing the left foot that we've been doing in all the other variations of this posture. Walk the right foot back, come onto the top of the right toenails. And again, maybe explore, just because of the preparation, maybe you can pick up that left heel and take it a little bit further forward than usual. But keep the left foot flexed. Listen to your left knee as you fold forward. Remember, you can always put padding into the folded left hip. Make sure the head is supported. And then just be with your breath. Again, breathing into the resistance that you meet in the body. Great, and again, stay here if you wish, or take a simpler twist where you just have your forearm parallel to the front of the mat, left elbow in front of left shoulder. But if you can, come into this variation that we're doing where you walk the left arm all the way across the body and you put the left elbow down, kind of in line with the right hip. Press the right hand on top of the left. You can't see me this side. And again, looking for that straight line. So you have to have the left elbow far across enough so that the forearms more or less create this vertical line. And then check you're not rolling back into the left side. Keep rolling the right hip down, but keep pressing that right hand into the left. So it's actually a twist more in the upper back, thoracic spine. We're trying to keep the pelvis level towards the floor, facing the floor. And then release, back to the front, walk the hands back to the front, tuck the back toe under, either come to your knees and extend the left leg back behind you, or come to downward dog, or a bit of both. Maybe walking out the feet, maybe lifting the left leg up, just whatever feels right to you, just re-energizing the left leg, reopening the back of the left leg. Great. And then just bringing the knees down, come to sit on your heels and drop the hips to the side. And we're going to come down onto our backs and just play with a few variations of the bridge that, again, we possibly revisit this shape. Okay, so just come to lie down and just take a moment to arrive on your back. So just melt the sacrum into the floor, melt the back into the floor. Remembering that yin energy, that left side of the body, that feminine, softer side of us. Just calling that in. So even we can still embody the principles of yin energy, even when things get challenging, we can still kind of call that energy in so we can soften into the challenges and have a different perspective, different mindset, not about goal and achievement and outcome. Okay, so bring the heels close to the buttocks, feet parallel, so outer edges of the feet parallel, and press the hands and the feet down, and just do a simple Setu Bandhasana for the first variation. So just press through the hands and the feet to lift the hips, maybe drawing the hands underneath to interlace the hands, or just keep pressing them down. Taking some slow, deep breaths, opening the front of the body. And then when you're ready to come down, when you've taken about 5 or so breaths, just winding the spine down from the upper back to the lower back. And just take a couple of resting breaths. So you might just want to have a quick look, because I'm going to show you options for number 2. So we're going to take Setu Bandhasana again, like we just did. If you interlace the fingers, you could just, it's much harder to do it like this, but it's possible. We're going to press down through the hands, and we're going to see if we can lift up a leg and find that position again. So flexing the right foot, place it on the top of the left thigh, and then this right hip's going to want to collapse. You're going to feel really asymmetrical. So we have to really work that left leg to lift the right hip and try and find symmetry here, and then swap. Okay, there is another way to do this, so taking a few breaths each side. You could, we're going to take 3 back bends, so you could try one without and one with. If you can get this grip where the elbows are underneath the hips and the hands are supporting, my fingertips are reaching around to the hip bones, then you can do the same thing. It's actually much easier in the legs, but it's more difficult. You need open wrists and it's quite strong in the elbows. You could also do it with a brick underneath the sacrum instead of supporting on your hands. So we're going to do 2 more. I'd like you to have a go at the one where you're just on your interlaced hands. It's really hard, but it's really good for building. It's the same activation in the hips as we found in the standing balance. Okay, so if you're not already going for it, we'll go for number 2. So heels into the buttock, press down through the feet and the hands, lifting the shoulders to draw the shoulders underneath and interlacing the fingers, and just really set that up first, pressing down actively through the hands, and then lift up the right leg, flex the foot, place the outer ankle on the front of the left thigh. You're going to feel really out of balance. See if you can lift that right side of the hips up whilst dropping the right knee down, right hip up, right knee down, and then swap. Press down through the right foot, lift up the left foot, flex the foot, take the outer ankle on top of the right thigh, rebalance, so drop the left knee down as you lift the left buttock and hip up, and release. Just re-establish the posture in the middle, and then exhale, release the bind, come down. Great job. Okay, shuffle the shoulders back, just take a moment, that's strong work. So you can feel how much this works the front of the hips and the thighs. Strong work, which is good to balance the strong opening we're doing with strong activation. Okay, so we're going to do one more if you've got the energy. Remembering we're trying to be soft, we don't want to overdo it today. So listen to your energy, be honest with yourself. Repeat what we just did if you liked that challenge. Or you could try this supported either with a block or with your own elbows and forearms. So you have to bring your elbows close in as possible. So you've again got this vertical support, and you need the flexibility of the wrist. So my heel of my hands are either side of my sacrum, fingertips reaching around to the hip bone. And then we can find the same shape for a couple of breaths, 2 or 3 breaths on each side. And because it's easier now, if you've got that support, you can focus more on the opening of the hip. You can just let that right knee, whichever knee is raised, just drop down and open the front of the hip in this interesting way. And just take 2 or 3 breaths each side, keeping the foot that's raised actively flexed and letting the knee drop down. So as I say, you could have a block under the sacrum instead. And then when you've done both sides, again, just rolling the spine down, vertebra by vertebra. Shuffle the shoulders back, take the feet forward, and either just have the feet parallel, knees pointing up, or take the feet wider and let the knees rest against each other. Just take some resting breaths here. Well done. Great. So just windscreen wiping the legs. So if you haven't already, take the feet mat distance apart and just let the knees, as you exhale, let the knees drop over to the left. Inhale back to the center, exhale knees to the right. So it's like you're rolling onto the edges of the feet. It's like windscreen wipers with the breath. So just a dynamic, but soft, mindful movement with breath. Next time you come over to the left, stay. If you want to help pick up the left foot and rest it on the outer right thigh just above the knee to intensify the stretch you can, and you can also look over your right shoulder. And release. Inhale to the center. Exhale, knees over to the right. Maybe pick up the right foot, rest it on the outer left thigh. Look over the left shoulder. And then back to the center. We've just got a little bit of space for an inversion. So I've got a few invitations for you. Your inversion could simply be maybe to take the hands underneath the buttocks, lift the legs up, but you could also, you could find the same position and you could do it like with the right foot on the front of the left thigh for a few breaths and then swap. So one last time we find that position. You could also take the plow and also find the same position. Interlacing the fingers, and maybe you have to take the foot off the floor, flexing the foot and then bringing it back down. Really pay attention to the knee here, and you can play again with trying to level up the hips because everything's going to get skew width. So we have to consciously use our deep core and level up again. And then swap. So this is all optional. You could just do normal plow. Okay, and then maybe shoulder stand if you want, and then coming out with control. So either legs up with or without the variation, or a plow with or without the variation, or just any other inversion. Could just be happy baby. Okay, so we've just got a little bit of space, couple of minutes or so, just to play around with this motif that we found, this shape, if you wish to, one last time. But mostly what we're focusing on now is the inversion. We want to finish with an inversion. Great, it's nice, everyone. So just finding your kind of playtime with this motif, or just taking a simple, familiar inversion. When you're ready to come out, just coming out with control if you've been in the plow or shoulder stand, just rolling out via the plow with control. Great, nice Penny, nice Amy, and just take a breath. If you're still in happy baby, you can stay there. If you've been in the plow or shoulder stand, take a little fish, Matsyasana, hands holding onto the outer hips on the elbows, lifting the chest, dropping the head back. Just 2 or 3 breaths, exposing and opening the throat. And then bringing the chin back to the chest. Walk the elbows out, come to lie down on the floor. And basically, we're ready for Shavasana. If there's anything else you feel you need, maybe you do need that happy baby, maybe you need one final little twist, knees either side, then take it, maybe just hugging the knees to the chest and rocking side to side. So just find your final movements that you need, or if you're ready for Shavasana, just move straight into Shavasana. Okay, and Make it a nice supported Shavasana, maybe a bolster under the knees. Blanket if you're cold, although that seems unlikely if it's 28 degrees there. But just finding what you need to be comfortable. Apologies about the ill-timed dogs and car. Hopefully they'll be quiet in a moment. So just let that be a cue from the universe to be very internal here in Shavasana. You know, the world is always trying to pull us off our center. The world is a noisy place. So how in these challenging, intense times, how can we stay in our own energy, in our center, stay calm, stay connected? Just even as you lie here, completely relaxing the body, see if you can just retain an awareness of the seat of Mula Bandha. And this is not, you don't even need to activate any muscles, it's just by putting our awareness into the perineum, or if we can travel our awareness, we're all women here this evening, inside up to where we perceive our cervix to be. And we just have an awareness of a gentle activation, very, very subtle drawing in and up, but in the most relaxed way we can. We're not losing any of the deep relaxation of Shavasana. Fully grounded. Yet we are intelligently sealing our energy in at our base. The energy of the practice. Don't let any tension creep into the body. And then even drop that, just drop everything, come into the void of Shavasana. Another minute. And just deepen the breath. Intimate small movements in the body. Take any big stretches you need. And gradually find your way back to seated. No rush, take the time. Great. If you're still in Shavasana or you're not ready to come up, that's absolutely fine. But if you're closing the class with me now, then just take a moment to close the class in a way that feels meaningful to you. Maybe bringing the palms together at the center of the chest, maybe bowing your head to your hands, maybe gratitude to yourself for taking this time to practice, for choosing to practice this evening, to nourish yourself. And just directing that energy to where it's needed within you and out there in the world. When you feel complete, space in the head, opening the eyes. Thank you all. Namaste. Nice to practice with you this evening. If anybody wants to do yoga nidra with me on Wednesday, then just let me know.